Hey guys, how you doing? All right, just want to share with you guys these two cool 2-inch cast alloy spacers that I purchased way back. And these two items here, I'm going to be using them on my Cleveland tunnel ram top. So if you go back on some of those videos where I was talking about plenum or no plenum, this is the deal or direction that I think I'm probably going to run with. So I purchased these things just online by eye, just looking at, you know what I mean, the size and just the meat that they got. They're real thick, and I just thought, you know what, I can, gamble and purchase these things, and I can do a lot of porting and blending work with these. And I got them real cheap anyway. These things here are like 120 bucks each. I scored like both of them for 100 bucks. So it worked out well. Now, if you remember, the top on the tunnel ram, without its adapter, without its dual, top plenum, the provisions there are for a Dominator 4500 sizing, if you remember that. Now these adapters, these are actually a Dominator to 4150 spacer adapters. But now this is my theory. This is where I'm going to go with this. Basically, I'm going to try a plenum-less top. So just running these two spacers on each bank with no plenum across. Now, this is my theory to it, right? So that's your 4500 top. Now, look at that. Look at that taper. That taper is just badass. It's cool, right? And that's your 4150 sizing right there. But this is how I'm going to run this thing. That's going to be my top where my carb goes down. And that side is going to go onto the tunnel ram top, right? Without its original plenum top. So that's going to bolt down to where the 4500 provisions are on the tunnel ram. Now, this is my theory to it. So basically, I'm going to try and create my own top of plenum volume, right? With these things. Now, I'll show you how. And, that's cool. You guys can tell me what you guys think. Now, that's going to be my top, right? So that's going to be my car bolting on there. That's going to be the taper going to the top of the deck of the Cleveland tunnel ram. What I mean is by creating some plenum volume is I got no 4150 gaskets or any base plates around to show you, but I got these 2-barrel carbs gaskets. So I'll show you from this and just imagine 2 of these, right? So basically that'll go there, and that's the sizing, and I'll flip that around. Okay, that's flipped over now. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So see that? See now all the unshrouding in there? Now that's giving me volume, which I'm going to call that my own individual plenum volume for each bank. So that's what I'm creating there, right? So I'm using, that's the carb end down there. So I've just flipped this around, and now that's my volume. And then imagine this gasket over here too. So, I just haven't got a 4-barrels gasket just to show you. But yeah. So basically, I'll flip this back around now. So basically, that's what I'm trying to create here. So if I do run my 4150s or even my Predator carbs, I'm trying to create myself some plenum volume under there, right? So all that massive unshroud, okay? So that's what I'm trying to create myself. And don't worry about things like this, because I am going to run one more heat insulator spacer that I'm going to do up here. So everything's going to seal up well. So there's no problems there. I've already thought of that stuff. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, but hang on. That's a 4150, the bottom side, and the top of the deck on the tunnel ram is provisions for 4500. Now that's why I sort of chose these, because look at the meat. There's so much meat in that. So what I'm going to do is port the crap out of it down here and perfectly try and blend it to the top of that tunnel ram intake. Okay, so that's my theory. Now, I've done a few measurements. Like I said, I've purchased these spacers sort of just online and by eye because I was browsing. And now you can get, super cool spacers out there, super thick billet, you know, they're like $200-300 each, and I'm sort of not going there. I'm gonna, you know, if I can avoid spending big bucks, I'm gonna try not to. So this is my thing. After doing a couple of calculations, this face here is, like I said, bolting onto the top of the tunnel ram, Cleveland tunnel ram. Now, a lot of it needs to get hacked. Okay, it's probably going to end up going all the way there. Okay, and there's another one there. So it's basically about 5 millimeters, you know, all the way to the you know, close off the outer edge, and that's, look, I mean, sure, it's going to be a little thin, but that's fine. You know, I'm going to make up some custom gaskets and, you know, run a bit of silicone. And once this thing's super bolted down, I don't think it'll give me any carb or any, you know, vacuum leaks or anything like that. Yeah, so that's the theory on it all. So that's basically what I'm going to do. So I'm creating myself my own bit of plenum volume there for individual bank. I'm not going to tie them together. There's not going to be no plenum, you know, sort of running across. So, and obviously all this here, as I mentioned, needs to get hacked out to sort of meet and match up with the top of that tunnel ram, those D ports on the top there. And I may not even port this out all like squarish. I may even just follow, you know what I mean, whatever the shape is of those D ports. I may even just follow that and just match port it real well, and that'll give me a nice contour and taper, because that's what I want. Okay, so you're probably thinking, if I do hack a lot of that out down there, I'm going to lose my taper, which is sort of correct, but not fully. But what I'll do, because there's plenty of meat there, look at that. That's a lot of chunk there. What I'll do is I can keep porting the top side and, you know, angling the thing down so I can still keep my taper. And like I said, don't worry about up here if it, you know, if it passes the actual gasket and the base plate on the Predator carbs or the 4150, because I am gonna run an insulator type of thing up here that I'll sort of blend and match port and things like that. Yeah, guys, so that's where I'm at with the theory on running a Plenum-less tunnel ram. So that's the thing I want to go for, and I had this in mind for a while, and I just want to give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't work, that's fine. It didn't owe me much, and, you know, I can turn to something else. So yeah, guys, that's the theory I'm going to run with. So basically a nice wide top for the carb to go onto. So that's pretty much the carb size there, right? And as you can see, even though that's a 2-barrel, just, you know, like I mentioned before, just imagine that's a 4150 there, much smaller. So underneath that, a lot of plenum, a lot of volume around there. So I'm sort of, you know, creating my own volume, plenum volume, if you want to call it, and still try and keep that taper towards the top of those D ports on that tunnel ram. And, you know, we just want to create that ramming effect. You know what I mean? You're probably thinking, why don't I run the spacers or these so-called plenums that I'm trying to do here the other way? Look, I thought of that. Now, look, I mean, that base there can go on to the top of the tunnel ram where those D ports are, right? They can sit there, and I can even hack all this out, but then, you know, it doesn't give it the tapered, effect towards those ports. It sort of flares out like a triangle, and I'm just not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So I'm most likely going to run with this idea. And as long as I can get that base down there properly, you know, blended with those tunnel ram D ports, and I don't have to hack the whole lot. Like I said, I can just maybe blend where they need to, and so forth. And that way it'll be a nice tapered, it'll give me a bit of, you know, unshrouding and plenum. And then my carbs will work well. And that's what you want with a, you know, 4V cleave head that's not filled, you know. Yeah, so you want to do your best with, you know, creating a bit of airspeed, you know, just for the fuel and air to sort of ram itself down there. And that's what open left alone 4V ports want, going off my experience anyway. Yeah, so my theory to it is you want to keep everything like a funnel effect. So you want to keep, you know, the top with the largest bit of opening, and you want everything crammed down, you know, all the way through the intake, through the port of the, you know, the massive 4V, all the way to the back of the valve. It's the only way a left alone 4V iron headed cleaver can work. And, you know, you've got to run, yeah, you got to run good carbs on it, like 4150s, something with smaller boosters and venturis. You want to create, you want to sort of manipulate and try and create airspeed and velocity by doing that, by running those carbs and by running this funnel effect. And it's the only way you can, you know, sort of wake up a 4V headed cleaver, by doing things like that, you know, without filling the intake. And that, I'm not going that way, so I'm not going to fill the intake and, you know, all that stuff. So by doing this is the only way you can wake up a 4V iron headed cleaver, from my experience anyway. So just drew this quickly, and, you know, of course it's not to scale, but again, it'll just give you an indication of where I'm at and my theory to it all. So basically, there's your Holly carbs, okay, 4150 style of Venturi boosters, and you can see there, you know, by running 4150 style carbs on a large port head, you create yourself some high speed pressure and velocity there by choosing to run those carbs. And that's what's worked with me in the past. You know, if you got yourself a real tight, you know, like a little small square port, you know, just basically a field 4V like they had in, you know, the Pro Stock days, or a 3V head, or any of the small block Chev or Windsor heads. Typically they're all small high speed intake ports, and that's why you'll generally see a lot of guys running big carbs, because, you know, to what I'm doing there, that theory works in opposite. So, you know what I mean? A big carb, big booster Venturi, and the ram effect that it has on a small port, high airspeed type of intake port, where this, it works in opposite. But like a 4V open style intake port works in opposite motion. So yeah, basically there's my plenum. Like I said, it's not to scale, so that's 2 inches there, and I'm giving myself some plenum volume around there, the front face of it, also the back face of it, and its sides. So all that's like plenum volume. I'm sort of giving this these individual banks, because I don't want them, you know, if you don't give yourself some volume, you need to run plenty of carburetor then, and that's you know, probably an issue I'll have without tying the two banks together with a, you know, a tied in plenum. But yeah, basically that's the theory I have. That's the tunnel ram, and I am gonna port and unshroud that radius, the edge there, just so I can get that more straight to help the roof of the port. So guys, you'll just go back, some of you guys will know this, but just go back and you'll see a couple of the videos I spoke about the intake, about what can possibly be enhanced and its flaws that it has. So you'll need to go back and just watch that, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. But yeah, that's basically it. So I've got a lot of work ahead of me, a lot of measuring still, and a lot of porting. And, you know, I've got to go get myself, I mean, I got a few of these porting tools, but these are for iron. So I'll need to go grab myself some alloy porting tools. And man, this thing here I've had for, geez, close to 30 years I've had this. And even with this particular one, believe it or not, I've actually ported a set of 2V heads when I was about, oh, I don't know, 17 years old. And I remember, mate, even just with this tool with the air compressor and the die grinder, And mate, with the porting tool, air operated, I could get in everywhere with this tool, believe it or not. And mate, I hacked these heads out. Like, don't get me wrong, you know, I wasn't just going there doing stupid stuff. I was really thinking about things and just, you know, blending, you know, dags out and things like that. And yeah, those heads ended up going onto some guy's boat that I remember, and they got the engine, everything up and running. Yeah, he ran pretty well with those heads. I don't know, he made over 400 flywheel horsepower, something like that. But yeah, so I still got these, but these aren't for that. I've got to purchase myself a good set of alloy porting tools, and then I'll get stuck onto that. But yeah, that's where I'm at, guys. So I'll just share that thing with you guys, and you know, tell me what you guys think. I love to hear what anyone out there thinks. You know, I may be doing something wrong here, but you know, that's my take on things. That's my theory I'm gonna run with, and that's what I believe can work and should work. We'll find out. Thanks, guys.